So when you do it this way, it's a lot more smarter, faster, and it's more efficient as well. Well, first, when you get started, you are at point zero, so you have absolutely no clue what's going on. And as you start learning, your confidence level will start increasing at a faster pace than the skill itself. If you feel like your listening skills are not that good, or you don't understand what is being said, it could be due to one of the following reasons. Now, as I promised, I'm gonna share with you some methods that you can use to improve your English listening skills in general, not just for Ielts. So, as I explained in the previous video, if you focus on 20% of the causes, you can control 80% of the results. So in the context of Ielts, theoretically speaking, with only 20% of the effort, and it has to be smart effort, you can basically achieve 80% of the results. So in the context of Ielts listening, you have 40 different questions. 80% of 40 questions is 32. So if you get 32 questions right, that translates into a band of 7.5. And even if we add a margin of error there, if you fall under 32, you can still score a band of 7. So practically speaking, with only 20% of smart effort, you can actually achieve a band of 7. So how do you do that? Well, the trick here is to basically focus on the most common topics or synonyms or vocabulary that you could encounter. Then those will probably occur more often in the future. So if you learn those, then you already have the capability to understand the text. And then there are always those difficult words that you don't see very often, but if you learn the more common words, those can guide you to guess the meaning of the difficult words based on the context. And to demonstrate for you how you can actually approach this, I'm gonna use ChatGPT that's in front of me right now. And this is probably one of the best tools that you can actually use, because this is a language model and it has already been trained based on a lot of material and information already out there on the internet. For instance, the prompt that I'm going to use here is just give me, let's say, the most common words or / expressions in the context of education for Ielts listening. And here is the prompt that I used, and you can see ChatGPT answer, which is pretty good. So ChatGPT is providing all this education related vocabulary, all these words that are used very often: school, university, college, degree, diploma, certificate, course, subject, curriculum, syllabus. So basically just make sure that you know what each one of these words mean, because those are the most occurring words, and if you understand them or if you know what they mean, then it will help you a long way. It's also providing these general words often used in the context of education: opportunity, access, availability, skill, knowledge, ability, talent, experience, development, growth, and so on. And then it's even providing the most common phrases and collocations: pursue a degree, develop skills, further education, enroll in a course, prepare for exams, broaden horizons, and so on. So when you do it this way, I would say that this method will equip you with the tools that would have taken you maybe solving 4, 5, 6 different Ielts listening tests in the context of education. So when you do it this way, it's a lot more smarter, faster, and it's more efficient as well. Or you can also ask about synonyms, opposites, ask about the most common words used in Ielts in general, and then you can move on. So you can ask ChatGPT to provide you with more vocabulary or more expressions, words, more idioms, whatever, in the context of work, in the context of the environment, and then you move on from there. And you can even ask it for the module of reading or for the module of writing. And the floor is yours. There are so many ways how you can do it. So I hope that this practical example has shown you or demonstrated for you how you can approach preparing for your Ielts in general, not just for listening. Now, as I promised, I'm going to share with you some methods that you can use to improve your English listening skills in general, not just for Ielts. Generally speaking, your listening skills are probably the easiest aspect to improve on, because we are constantly surrounded by English on TV or on the internet. So you can always literally work on those skills whilst having fun, watching your favorite movie or like watching your favorite series, listening to a podcast or watching some YouTube video. And for me personally, one of the methods or one of the ways how I actually work on my listening skills is either watching a movie or watching a series that's in English. And I would say there were 3 stages that I had to go through to work on my listening skills. So initially, when you are watching either your favorite movie or series, in the first stage you still have the audio that's in English, but you can use the subtitles in your native language, in your own language. And at the same time, try to pay attention, so try to relate sometimes what the words that they are saying in English and at the same time what is written there in subtitles, and that will help you to actually understand some few words. So that's like when you get started from the very basic level. Now, once you get a bit comfortable with like listening to some words in English, and then I would move on to the second stage, and that's literally what I did. Then I started watching with English subtitles. So you listen to the audio that's already in English, and at the same time you have the English subtitles, and you try and like focus on what they're saying and the word, like the way it's pronounced, and you have the written word there, so it is perfect. Basically, you get familiar with this stage. The transition is always very difficult at first, I would say. Like once you switch, like at first I understand it becomes very difficult. I've been there, done that. I know exactly how it feels like. It can be frustrating. However, you really need to push through and try to focus. And then once you think that you're doing pretty fine, understanding the audio, and at the same time you have the English subtitles, I would advise you to get rid of the subtitles, because if you're always gonna have the subtitles there, your brain, you will have the visual information that's your brain is processing. So you're not really gonna be paying much attention to the audio as much. So it's very important. The final stage, simply get rid of the subtitles. They are no longer there. So after you've learned or like you've covered a fair share of vocabulary, you know most of the words, but at the end, once you get rid of those subtitles, you start working properly on your listening skills, and again, it will become very difficult. I also want to highlight throughout the process, if you ever get frustrated, I don't want you to give up, because it's part of the process. There is actually this typical graph for learning any skill in life or any competence, which shows you the confidence level on the y-axis, and then you have the competence or the expertise on the x-axis. Well, first, when you get started, you are at point 0, so you have absolutely no clue what's going on. You don't have the skill, neither the confidence. And as you start learning, your confidence level will start increasing at a faster pace than the skill itself. So at one point you will feel really confident, although the skill doesn't match that level of confidence. And then as you continue learning, you will start figuring out that this is actually a bit more difficult than I expected. So your confidence level will start coming down. And then you reach a certain stage, I think it's called the valley of despair, which you get really frustrated. You think that it's really overwhelming. Although your skill level has increased, you think this is really overwhelming, this is incredibly difficult. However, that's like the critical point that you should push through and keep learning. Is only part of the process. And as you learning, your confidence level will come up again, and you will be both competent and also confident. Just keep your consistency there, and I am pretty sure that you will achieve. If you are persistent and if you are working hard, I am sure that you're going to achieve the level of skill that you want. So that's whether in the Ielts test, in all its sections, or any skill that you're trying to learn. It's just part of the process. Consistency and staying motivated is the key, and I am pretty sure that you can achieve whatever results that you want if you keep that mindset. Alright, in this section I'm just gonna add that if you are trying to improve your listening skills, it's very important that you understand where your weakness is in order to actually work on that. So it's either you're not familiar with the accent, so there are so many different accents. In the Ielts listening test, be prepared that you're going to encounter any of the regular accents, whether it's the North American accent or the British accent or the Australian accent. So be prepared, you should familiarize yourself with that. The other reason is that you do know that you have the vocabulary, but sometimes you learned it from a book or a dictionary, but you're not really aware of the way that those words are pronounced, especially in English when you have different words like the word thorough. So when you have like that GH, maybe in your head, like you pronounce it in a different way. So sometimes you do have the vocabulary, but you're simply not familiar with the way that it's pronounced. So you can work on that weakness, or your English level in general is simply weak. So your vocabulary is very limited. You do hear the word, but you have no clue what it means. So you have to work on increasing your vocabulary. Or it might be that your ear is simply not trained to follow or pick up words, especially when people are speaking at a fast pace. If you are listening to a video on the internet, you can always control the speed and try to train your ear. Get rid of like the visual input that you usually rely on, which is usually the subtitles. So get rid of the visual input and then work on training your ear on picking up those words even at a faster pace. And you can, either with podcast or with videos on the internet, you can always control the speed of the video. So try with like slow pace. Once you get comfortable, speed it up a little bit. Once you get comfortable with that, speed it up even more. Although in the Ielts test they are a bit considerate, so usually you're not gonna hear someone speaking really fast, but in real life I've been in some situations where I'll tell you, like, I had no clue what the person was saying especially with native people. So simply, if you want to understand British speakers, immerse yourself in content where you familiarize yourself with the way how they talk. So there is no one that knows you better than yourself. So try to identify where your weakness is and then try and improve on that particular aspect.